Welcome back to our channel, Serious Story Sessions. If you like our content and wish to see more from us, please click that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for future videos. Your support means the world to us, and we thank you. Enjoy the video. My boss stole my $1 million idea and claimed it as his own, so I quit and started my own company. Now he's begging me for a job. I never thought I'd see the day my old boss would beg me for a job, but here we are. It feels surreal, like something out of a movie. I'm still trying to process it all, so I decided to write it out here. Maybe someone else has gone through something similar. It all started about 3 years ago. I was working for a company called Innovate Solutions. We were in the tech space, focused on professional development. Think online courses, webinars, that kind of thing. I was a senior product manager there. I loved my job, or at least I thought I did. I was passionate about helping people grow in their careers. I always felt like there was something missing in the market. Most platforms were just libraries of content. You picked a course, you completed it, and that was it. There was no real guidance, no personalized path, no way to connect skills to actual job opportunities in a meaningful way. I started thinking about this a lot. I spent my evenings and weekends brainstorming. I filled notebooks with ideas. I envisioned a platform that wasn't just about courses. It would be about pathways. It would use AI to analyze a user's current skills, their career goals, and the market demand. Then it would create a bespoke learning journey. It would recommend specific skills to acquire, projects to undertake, even potential mentors. It would connect users directly to job listings that matched their evolving profile. I called it Ascent. I saw it as a complete ecosystem for career transformation. It wasn't just a product, it was a whole new kind of company. I was so excited about it. I poured my heart into developing the concept. I built detailed mock-ups. I wrote a comprehensive business plan. I even crunched numbers, projecting potential revenue and growth. I truly believed it could be a multi-million-dollar idea, maybe even a billion-dollar one. My boss at Innovate Solutions was a man named David Harrison. He was the VP of Product. David was charismatic. He could talk you into anything. He had this way of making you feel like your ideas were brilliant and that he was your biggest champion. I trusted him. I saw him as a mentor. So, one day, I scheduled a meeting with David. I was buzzing with anticipation. I walked him through my entire presentation. I showed him the mock-ups. I explained the AI algorithms. I laid out the market analysis and the financial projections. I told him this wasn't just an improvement. It was a revolution for the professional development space. He listened intently. He nodded. He asked smart questions. He looked genuinely impressed. At the end, he leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful look on his face. "This is phenomenal, Sarah," he said. "Truly phenomenal. You've hit on something big here." My heart swelled. I felt validated. I felt like we were about to change the world. He told me he wanted to take my idea to the CEO. He said it needed to be fast-tracked. He said he would make sure I was credited, that I would lead the project. He painted a picture of me heading up a new division, becoming a key player in the company's future. I believed every word. I had no choice not to. A few weeks went by. David had several confidential meetings with the CEO. He kept me updated in vague terms. "Things are progressing," he'd say. "Big interest." I was on cloud 9, waiting for the official green light, waiting to start building my dream. Then I saw it. An internal memo landed in my inbox. It was from the CEO, announcing a new strategic initiative. A groundbreaking new platform that would revolutionize professional development. It was called Pathfinder. I felt a chill. Pathfinder, Ascent. The names were different, but the description, it was mine. Every single core concept. The AI-driven personalized pathways, the connection to job opportunities, the mentorship integration. It was all there. My words, my vision. But there was no mention of me. None. The memo stated that David Harrison would be leading this new initiative. He was being promoted to Chief Innovation Officer. My name wasn't even in the acknowledgments. It was like I had never existed. My blood ran cold. I reread the memo several times, hoping I was mistaken. Hoping I'd missed my name buried somewhere. I hadn't. I felt a knot form in my stomach. It wasn't just a mistake, it was a deliberate act. He had taken credit for my idea. He had claimed it as his own. All of the promises he made to me were lies. I confronted David immediately. I walked into his office, the memo clutched in my hand. "David," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What is this? Pathfinder? This is my idea. This is Ascent." He looked at me, completely unfazed. He even managed a slight smile. Sarah, I appreciate your enthusiasm, and you did contribute some valuable insights during our discussions. But the strategic direction, the overall architecture, that's something I've been developing for a long time. I stared at him, aghast. You've been developing it? I gave you a complete business plan. I showed you mock ups. I worked on this for months in my own time. He shrugged, a small dismissive gesture. Ideas are a dime a dozen, Sarah. Execution is what matters. And the company has decided I am the right person to execute this vision. He then had the audacity to say, Don't worry, you'll still be involved. We might even find a role for you on the Pathfinder team, under my leadership, of course. I walked out of his office in a daze. I felt sick to my stomach. My mentor, the man I trusted, had stolen my dream. He had taken my $1,000,000 idea and claimed it as his own. And he wasn't even apologetic. He was proud of it. That night, I didn't sleep. I was filled with rage, betrayal, and a deep, aching disappointment. I thought about suing, but I knew how hard it was to prove intellectual property theft in a corporate setting, especially without patents filed. I didn't have the resources to fight a big company like Innovate Solutions. But then another feeling started to bubble up. Determination. He might have stolen my idea, but he couldn't steal my passion. He couldn't steal my understanding of why it would work. He couldn't steal me. The next morning, I walked into Innovate Solutions, went straight to HR, and handed in my resignation. No 2 weeks' notice, no explanation beyond personal reasons. I just needed out. I couldn't stand to be in that building, breathing the same air as David, knowing that he would be congratulated day in and day out for something that I created. Leaving was terrifying. I had no other job lined up. I had some savings, but not a lot. My family thought I was crazy. You just walked away from a good job? My mom asked, worried. I couldn't really explain it without sounding bitter, so I just said it wasn't the right fit anymore. For a few months, I floundered. I took on some freelance consulting gigs to pay the bills, but every spare moment, I was back at my kitchen table, revisiting my Ascent idea. David had stolen the concept, but I realized he'd stolen an early version of it. I knew I could make it better. I knew I could make it mine. I started to rethink everything. What could make Ascent truly unique? What could Innovate Solutions, with its corporate structure and legacy systems, never replicate? The answer was true agility and deep personalization. David's Pathfinder would likely be bogged down by corporate bureaucracy. It would probably just be existing courses rebranded with a fancy AI layer. My new vision for Ascent focused on something more organic. I wanted to build a community around it. I wanted to incorporate micro-learning modules, gamification, and real-time feedback loops that went beyond what David's team could ever implement quickly. I also decided to focus intensely on a specific niche first, perhaps mid-career professionals looking to transition into sustainability roles, before expanding. This would allow me to gather targeted data and prove the model. I spent the next year working relentlessly. I taught myself basic coding. I networked like crazy, meeting with anyone who would listen to my idea. I pitched to investors, to friends, to former colleagues who believed in me. It was brutal. I heard no more times than I could count. I faced countless rejections. There were days I wanted to give up. Days I came home and cried in frustration, but then a glimmer of hope. A small group of investors, impressed by my passion and the detailed plan, decided to take a chance on me. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was enough to hire a small dedicated team. 2 developers, a UX designer, and a marketing intern. We worked out of a cramped co-working space, fueled by cheap coffee and an unshakable belief in Ascent. We launched Ascent Path, a slightly refined name, exactly a year after I quit Innovate Solutions. Our initial niche was indeed mid-career professionals looking to pivot into sustainable tech. We focused on an incredibly intuitive user interface, a highly responsive AI recommendation engine, and a vibrant online community where users could support each other to get to their career goals. The initial response was slow, but positive. Users loved the tailored pathways. They loved the feeling of being guided, not just presented with choices. They loved the community aspect. Word started to spread. Reviews poured in, praising our unique approach. Our user base grew steadily, then exponentially. Within 6 months, Ascent Path was generating significant revenue. We started expanding into other niches. Our growth was organic, driven by satisfied users. We focused on continuous improvement, constantly iterating based on feedback. We were lean, agile, and fiercely dedicated. Meanwhile, I kept an eye on Innovate Solutions. Pathfinder had launched. It was exactly what I expected. Clunky, impersonal, and essentially a dressed-up version of their old product line. It lacked the soul, the personalization, the community engagement that made AscentPath successful. Users found it frustrating. Many of their existing customers, dissatisfied with Pathfinder, started looking elsewhere. Many of them found us. The more it grew, the more money it earned, which fueled my team and I to work even harder to improve it. Innovate Solutions started to struggle. Their stock dipped. They laid off employees. David Harrison's name, once heralded as an innovator, started appearing in articles criticizing Pathfinder's failure. They had invested heavily in it, banking on its success. But they couldn't compete with the truly innovative, user-centric product we had built from the ground up. Fast forward to last month. Innovate Solutions officially filed for bankruptcy. It was a massive news story in our industry. A company that had been a pillar in professional development for decades, gone. It felt like a strange kind of justice. I didn't cheer exactly. It was more a quiet sense of vindication. With the new influx of customers, I knew our team couldn't manage alone anymore. It was time to expand, and the thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. Our little co-working space, once bustling with just the 5 of us, now felt like a sardine can. We were tripping over each other, juggling support tickets, development sprints, and marketing outreach, all while trying to onboard thousands of new users who had fled the sinking ship of Innovate Solutions. My phone rang constantly, emails piled up faster than I could read them, and I was perpetually running on adrenaline and stale coffee. My first step was to formalize our needs. I spent a week analyzing every bottleneck, every late-night task, every user complaint we'd received. It became clear that we needed to scale on multiple fronts. More developers, of course, to keep up with feature requests and maintain a robust infrastructure. But just as crucially, we needed a dedicated customer success team, someone to manage our growing community, and experienced marketing professionals to capitalize on our momentum. Most importantly, I needed someone to help me manage the company itself, a COO perhaps, who could bring order to the beautiful chaos we'd created. I didn't want to just hire bodies. I wanted to hire people who believed in AscentPath's mission as passionately as I did. I remembered David's dismissive attitude towards ideas and his focus on execution, only when it served him. I believed that passion was execution. So, I painstakingly crafted our job descriptions, emphasizing not just skills, but also a collaborative spirit, a user-centric mindset, and a genuine desire to empower career transformation. Our interview process was rigorous, focusing on problem-solving, cultural fit, and a candidate's personal connection to lifelong learning. I made sure to include everyone that created this company with me in the interviewing process. All of the original people who helped me build this from the ground up deserved to have a say in who we hired. I wanted to honor their commitment and loyalty because it was a vital part of our success. The first wave of hires was a revelation. We brought on 3 more developers, a dedicated customer support lead, and a community manager who immediately started breathing new life into our forums and mentorship programs. It wasn't just about clearing the backlog. It was about building a culture. I made sure every new team member understood our journey, the initial betrayal, and the grit it took to get where we were. It fostered an incredible sense of loyalty and purpose. We moved into a slightly larger office space, still humble, but with enough room for everyone to breathe and, more importantly, to collaborate effectively. Less important, but still a huge bonus to me and the other original team members, our new office space had a designated break room. It was filled with the most comfortable lounge chairs and couches. We also upgraded our coffee game tremendously. One of our investors generously provided a brand new espresso machine for the break room, which was a huge hit across the company. The new break room created a more home-like feel to our new office space and boosted productivity as a result. Funding this rapid expansion required another strategic move. Our initial investors were thrilled with our progress, but the scale of what I envisioned needed more. I began preparing for a Series A funding round. This meant refining my business plan, meticulously detailing our growth projections, market share, and competitive advantages. I also had to clearly articulate my vision for AscentPath's future, not just as a successful platform, but as the definitive platform for career development globally. I remembered the detailed mock-ups and financial projections I'd poured over for David, and this time, I was doing it for my company, for my team, and for my users. It felt incredibly empowering. The pitches were grueling, but my confidence had grown exponentially since those early, desperate days. I wasn't just selling an idea anymore. I was selling a proven product with undeniable traction and a passionate user base. I secured a significant Series A round, led by a venture capital firm known for backing mission-driven tech companies. This new money allowed us to accelerate our hiring, upgrade our technology stack, and, crucially, invest heavily in product refinement. One of the key steps I took to better the business was to double down on our unique selling propositions: deep personalization and community. We invested in an even more sophisticated AI engine, moving beyond just recommending courses to truly predicting career trajectories based on emerging industry trends. This meant integrating real-time labor market data, analyzing millions of job postings daily, and cross-referencing that with our users' evolving skill sets and aspirations. Our AI wasn't just reactive, it became proactive, suggesting skills users didn't even know they needed yet, but that would be vital in 6 months or a year. It allowed all of our customers to fully understand the bigger picture and scope, which they responded well to. They liked knowing a comprehensive list of skills they needed to learn, and it allowed them to personalize their learning preferences even more. We also expanded our content strategy. It wasn't enough to just have great pathways, we needed the best resources to fill them. I forged partnerships with leading universities, industry experts, and even other edtech companies to license or co-create premium micro-learning modules. We didn't want lengthy academic courses. We wanted bite-sized, practical content that could be immediately applied. We launched Ascent Labs, a platform for users to undertake guided real-world projects, often in collaboration with partner companies, giving them tangible experience to add to their resumes. This was a direct response to the "no way to connect skills to actual job opportunities" gap I'd identified years ago. The community aspect, which started organically, was purposefully nurtured. We implemented peer-to-peer mentorship programs, facilitated virtual networking events, and created specialized interest groups where users could connect based on their current roles, target careers, or even specific skills they were trying to master. My community manager, Sarah, was instrumental here, building a truly supportive and engaging environment. It became clear that while the AI guided the path, the human connection fueled the journey. As we grew, so did the need for the communication systems inside the company itself. I hired an operations manager who helped streamline our job's onboarding processes, established clear communication channels across departments, and implemented project management tools that kept everyone aligned and efficient. This was a stark contrast to the clunky bureaucratic systems I'd experienced at Innovate Solutions. I wanted AscentPath to remain agile, responsive, and innovative no matter its size. Our marketing efforts also matured. We moved beyond word of mouth and targeted social media campaigns to a more comprehensive strategy. We launched thought leadership initiatives, publishing white papers and hosting webinars on the future of work and personalized learning. I became a frequent speaker at industry conferences, sharing AscentPath's story and vision. Our brand, once a small scrappy challenger, was now recognized as a leader and innovator in the professional development space. We differentiated ourselves not just by what we offered, but by how we offered it, with empathy, precision, and a genuine commitment to individual success. Geographic expansion was the next logical step. We started localizing our content, hiring native speakers and regional experts to adapt pathways for different markets. Our first international launch was in Europe, followed by Asia, and the response was overwhelmingly positive. The need for personalized career guidance, it turned out, was universal. This expansion also meant navigating complex regulatory environments and building local partnerships, all of which pushed me and my team to learn and adapt at an incredible pace. Perhaps one of the most significant steps I took to better the business was introducing an enterprise solution. Companies, seeing the success their employees had with AscentPath on an individual basis, started approaching us. They wanted to integrate our platform into their internal learning and development programs. This opened up an entirely new revenue stream and allowed us to impact even more careers. We developed specialized dashboards for HR managers, allowing them to track skill development across their workforce and identify talent gaps. It was a win-win. Companies could proactively upskill their teams, and their employees benefited from our personalized pathways. My own role evolved dramatically. I started as the product manager, the visionary, the initial developer, and now I was the CEO, leading a team of over 100 brilliant minds. I had to learn to delegate, to trust my incredible leadership team, and to focus on strategic vision rather than getting bogged down in day-to-day operations. It wasn't always easy. There were moments of self-doubt, moments where the sheer weight of responsibility felt overwhelming. I sometimes questioned if I was truly equipped for this, if the girl who cried in her kitchen over stolen dreams was capable of steering such a large ship. But then, I would see a review from a user who had successfully transitioned into their dream career, or a new feature launched by one of my teams that exceeded my expectations, and the doubts would fade. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about every single person at AscentPath, and every single user whose life we were helping to change. We were building something real, something impactful, something David Harrison and Innovate Solutions never could have. Our success didn't go unnoticed. Industry publications started featuring Ascent Path as a case study in innovation. We won Best EdTech Platform 2 years in a row. My face, once an anonymous senior product manager, was now on the covers of business magazines. It was surreal. I saw articles that explicitly contrasted our agile, user-centric approach with the downfall of Innovate Solutions, often citing Pathfinder's failure as a cautionary tale of corporate greed and lack of vision. The quiet vindication I felt at their bankruptcy now felt like a resounding roar. I often thought about David, sitting in his opulent office, basking in the glow of my idea. I wondered if he ever really understood what he had lost. Not just the concept, but the passion, the drive, the authentic connection to a mission. He saw a product, I saw a purpose. And that, I realized, was the fundamental difference. That was why Ascent Path thrived while Pathfinder crumbled. The steps I took to better my business weren't just about optimizing processes or acquiring users. They were about infusing every single aspect of Ascent Path with the very soul that David had tried to extinguish. We were living proof that integrity and innovation could and should go hand in hand. Then yesterday, I got an email. A short, formal email from an address I didn't immediately recognize. It was from David Harrison. For context, it had been 4 years now since I had left Innovative Solutions. I had thought about him occasionally, wondering where he ended up after the company's bankruptcy, but this was the first contact since I put in my resignation all those years ago. The subject line was simple. Regarding potential opportunities. I opened it, my heart pounding a little. The email loaded on my screen. It was short, 4 brief paragraphs, with that corporate blue signature at the bottom. He started by saying he was aware of Ascent Path's incredible success. His words, not mine. He congratulated me, his words stiff and formal, the digital equivalent of an awkward handshake. Then he cut to the chase. He said he was currently exploring new professional avenues and was deeply impressed by what I had built. He highlighted his extensive experience in product strategy and leadership and offered his services. He explicitly asked if Ascent Path had any open senior leadership roles or if I would consider creating one for him. He finished by saying he was eager to contribute to such a groundbreaking vision. I read it twice, then a third time. My old boss, the man who stole my idea, who dismissed my contributions, who got me to quit in anger and despair, was now asking me for a job. He was begging me to hire him. I sat there for a long time, just staring at the screen. My initial reaction was pure, unadulterated shock. I couldn't comprehend how he had the audacity to come groveling back to me. Then, a wave of emotions hit me. Anger, triumph, disbelief. A part of me wanted to reply with a single brutal word. No. Another part wanted to write a long, scathing email reminding him of everything he did. But I didn't. I just closed the email. I haven't replied yet. I've built Ascent Path into something truly special. We have an amazing team, a fantastic culture, and we're genuinely helping people. The thought of bringing David, with all his baggage and his manipulative past, into this environment, it feels wrong. It feels like it would tarnish everything we've worked for. On the other hand, the irony is delicious. He thought he could steal my idea and crush me. Instead, he lost everything, and I built something far greater. And now he's at my mercy. What do? Do I reply? Do I ignore it? Do I offer him an entry-level position just to twist the knife, knowing he'd never take it? Or do I just move on? Proof that living well is the best revenge? I guess I'm looking for perspective. Has anyone ever faced something like this? How did you handle it? I just can't shake the feeling of how utterly surreal this all is. I closed the email, but the image of it and David's name burned behind my eyelids. The screen went dark, reflecting my own stunned face. My breath felt shallow, caught somewhere in my chest. It wasn't just an email, it was a ghost from my past, materializing in my present and demanding attention. My mind raced through the options I just outlined, each one presenting itself with a different flavor of temptation. Ignoring it felt like the path of least resistance, a quiet refusal. But then, would I always wonder? Would it feel like I hadn't truly faced him, even indirectly? Replying with a brutal no had a certain appeal, a primal satisfaction. It would be concise, devastating, completely opposite to his own dismissal of me. But would it make me feel better? or just drag me down to his level. Offering him an entry-level position felt almost theatrical, a scene ripped from a bad corporate drama. But the thought of him, even hypothetically, accepting it and being in my company, felt like a contamination. It went against everything Ascent Path stood for. I walked over to the window of my office. It wasn't the cramped co-working space anymore. This was a bright, expansive room, overlooking the city skyline, a testament to years of relentless work and unwavering belief. My company now occupied 3 floors of this building. I could see the buzz of my team below, hear the low hum of productive energy. People were collaborating, innovating, genuinely excited about what they were building. They believed in Ascent Path, in its mission, and in me. Bringing David into this environment, it felt like inviting a parasite into a healthy organism. He was a man who took credit, who manipulated, who saw people as rungs on his own ladder. He saw ideas as commodities to be seized, not nurtured. That's what he did to me. That's what he did to Innovate Solutions. And ultimately, that's what destroyed Innovate Solutions. My initial anger, the hot flush of betrayal I'd felt 3 years ago, had mostly cooled into a quiet resolve. The rage had transformed into fuel, propelling me forward, forcing me to prove him wrong. Not just to him, but to myself. And I had. Ascent Path wasn't just my success. It was a testament to a different way of doing business. A way built on integrity, genuine innovation, and valuing every individual's contribution. If I were to hire David, even in a small way, what message would that send to my team? What would it say about my leadership, about the values I'd so carefully instilled? It would be a betrayal of every person who had worked tirelessly alongside me, who had believed in Ascent Path when it was just a sketch on a napkin. They knew my story, at least in broad strokes. They knew I had been wronged. To bring him in would suggest that his past actions were forgivable, or worse, irrelevant, and they were neither. I leaned against the cool glass of the window, watching the city below. The idea of living well as the best revenge resonated deeply. It wasn't just a saying, it was what I had done. I had taken his theft, his betrayal, and turned it into the genesis of something truly magnificent. He had taken my idea, but he had never understood its heart, its soul. He had seen a product. I had seen a purpose. That was the fundamental difference, and it was why Ascent Path thrived while Pathfinder crumbled. The desire to gloat, to twist the knife, was still there, a faint whisper in the back of my mind. It was a human impulse, a natural response to being wronged so profoundly. But I realized that giving in to that impulse would only diminish my victory. My victory wasn't about David's failure, it was about my success. It was about creating something meaningful, building a thriving company, fostering a positive culture. If I replied to his email, regardless of the content, I would be engaging with him. I would be acknowledging him, giving him a piece of my time, my energy, my mental space. And honestly, he wasn't worth it. He never had been. He was a chapter I had closed, a lesson learned, a painful but necessary part of my origin story. But he wasn't my story now. My story was Ascent Path and the future we were building. I walked back to my desk, my gaze falling on the framed photo of my small original team in that cramped co-working space, beaming with exhaustion and excitement. I remembered the late nights, the ramen dinners, the collective cheer when we onboarded our 10th user. That was the spirit I wanted to protect. That was the legacy I wanted to build. My finger hovered over the mouse. The email was still open. I imagined typing out a response, choosing my words carefully, inflicting maximum damage with minimum effort. But then I imagined his face as he read it, a fleeting flicker of pain or humiliation. And then what? Would I feel truly satisfied? Or would I feel a hollow victory, having wasted my energy on a man who had already defeated himself? No, that wasn't my path. My path was ascent. My path was forward. I took a deep breath and a sense of calm washed over me. It wasn't indifference, not entirely. It was a release, a recognition that his actions, while hurtful, had ultimately made me stronger, more resilient, and more determined. He had pushed me off a cliff, but I had learned to fly. My decision solidified. I wouldn't engage, I wouldn't gloat, I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of a response or the opportunity to taint my company. He had tried to define me by his betrayal, but I had redefined myself through my creation. With a quiet click, I selected the email. My finger didn't hesitate. I moved it to the trash. Then I emptied the trash. It was gone. Not just from my inbox, but from my immediate concern. A weight lifted, one I hadn't realized I was still carrying. It wasn't about vengeance. It was about liberation. It was about choosing to protect my peace my company, and my vision. I stood up, walked back to the window, and looked out at the city lights beginning to twinkle as dusk settled. Ascent Path was a beacon, guiding others to their own professional transformations. And I, Sarah, was its architect. I had built it from nothing, from a stolen idea and a shattered trust, into a thriving reality. The past was behind me. The future stretched out, bright and full of possibility. I had proved myself, not just to David, but to myself, and that was the truest satisfaction of all. I smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile. It was time to get back to work. If you enjoyed this kind of content, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next batch of stories. See you all next time. Goodbye for now.